Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 6, The Downfall of Saubhari Muni. Text number 3. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Punastwangirasaha smritaha. Punastwangirasa smritaha. Rathitaranam pravaraha. Rathitaranam pravaraha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Punastvangirasa smrita. Ratitaranam pravaraha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Punastvangirasa smritaha. Ratitaranam pravaraha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Punastvangirasa smrita. Ratitaranam pravaraha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Ete kshetra prasuta vai. Punastvangirasa smritaha. Ratitaranam pravaraha. Kshetropeta dvijatayaha. Ete, the sons begotten by Angira. Kshetra prasutaha, became the children of Rathitara and belonged to his family because they were born from the womb of his wife. Why, indeed, punaha, again, to, but, Angirasaha, of the dynasty of Angira. Smritaha, they were called. Rathitaranam, of all the sons of Rathitara. Pravaraha, the chief. Kshetra upetaha, because of being born of the kshetra, field. Vijatayaha, called Brahmana, being a mixture of Brahmana and Kshatriya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Having been born from the womb of Rathitara's wife, all these sons were known as the dynasty of Rathitara. But because Having been born from the womb of Rathitara's wife, all these sons were known as the dynasty of Rathitara. But because they were born from the semen of Angira, they were also known as the dynasty of Angira. Among all the progeny of Rathitara, these sons were the most prominent because, owing to their birth, they were considered Brahmanas. Please repeat this translation. Having been born from the womb of Rathitara's wife, all these sons were known as the dynasty of Rathitara. But because they were born from the semen of Angira, they were also known as the dynasty of Angira. Among all the progeny of Rathitara, these sons were the most prominent because, owing to their birth, they were considered Brahmanas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the meaning of Vijatayaha as mixed caste, indicating a mixture of Brahmana and Kshatriya. I'll read the next few verses. Text number 4. Shuvatastu manor jagne ikshvakur ghanatas sutaha tasya putra shata jyeshtha vikukshi nimidandakaha. Translation. The son of Manu was Ikshvaku. When Manu was sneezing, Ikshvaku was born from Manu's nostrils. King Ikshvaku had 100 sons, of whom Vikukshi, Nimi, and Dandaka were the most prominent. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, although the Bhagavatam 9.1.11 and 12 had previously included Ikshvaku among the 10 sons begotten by Manu and his wife Shraddha, this was a generalization. It is here specifically explained that Ikshvaku was born simply from the sneezing of Manu. Text 5. Tesham purastad abhavan aryavarte nripa nripa panchavimshati paschach trayo madhye aparenyataha. Translation. Of the 100 sons, 25 became kings in the western side of Aryavarta, a place between Himalaya and Vindhya mountains. Another 25 sons became kings in the east of Aryavarta, and the 3 principal sons became kings in the middle. The other sons became kings in various other places. Text 6. Sa ekada ashtaka shraddhe Ikshvaku sutamadishat mamsam aniyatam medhyam vikukshe gacchamachiram. Translation. During the months of January, February and March, oblations offered to the forefathers are called Ashtaka Shraddha. The Shraddha ceremony is held during the dark fortnight of the moon. When Maharaj Ikshvaku is performing his oblations in this ceremony, he ordered his son Vikukshi to go immediately to the forest to bring some pure flesh. Text 7. Tatheti sa vanam gatva mrigan hatva kriyarhanan shranto bubukshito viraha chasham chadad apasmrutihi. Translation. Thereafter, Ikshvaku's son Vikukshi went to the forest and killed many animals suitable for being offered as oblations. But when fatigued and hungry, he became forgetful and ate a rabbit he had killed. Purport. It is evident that Kshatriyas killed animals in the forest because the flesh of the animals was suitable to be offered at a particular type of yajna. Offering oblations to the forefathers in the ceremony known as Shraddha is also a kind of yajna. In this yajna, flesh obtained from the forest by hunting could be offered. However, in the present age, Kali Yuga, this kind of offering is forbidden. Quoting from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ashwamedham Gavalambham Sanyasam Palapaitrakam Devarena Sutotpattim Kalau Pancha Vivarjayet. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden. The offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. The word Palapaitrikam refers to an offering of flesh in oblations to forefathers. Formerly, such an offering was allowed, but in this age, it is forbidden. In this age, Kali Yuga, everyone is expert in hunting animals, but most of the people are Shudras, not Kshatriyas. According to Vedic injunctions, however, only Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt, whereas Shudras are allowed to eat flesh of after offering goats and other insignificant animals before the deity of goddess Kali or similar demigods. On the whole, meat eating is not completely forbidden. A particular class of men is allowed to eat meat according to various circumstances and injunctions. As far as eating beef is concerned, however, it is strictly prohibited to everyone. Thus, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna personally speaks of Gorakshyam, cow protection. Meat eaters, according to their different positions and the directions of the Shastra, are allowed to eat flesh, but never the flesh of cows. Cows must be given all protection. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshata. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is like an encyclopedia of spiritual life. While we practice spiritual life in this material world, we do come across many different difficulties or obstacles or challenges while adhering or trying to adhere to the rules and regulations given in the Shastras. But if one is properly guided by the scriptures as taught by the acharyas, the bona fide spiritual masters in parampara system, then one can make steady progress and achieve the ultimate perfection of purifying one's existence completely and going back to Godhead. For everyone, the goal is to purify their existence and become eligible to go back to Godhead. But people in general have so many material desires, because of which they engage in so many varieties of activities to satisfy their desires. In the scriptures, there is allowance for anybody to satisfy their desires in such a way that they don't become sinfully implicated if somebody violates the Shastric instructions, then they become sinful persons. They are punishable by the laws of karma. And these laws are stringently enforced by Durga Devi, who is very, very, very strict. And she is not only strict, she is very, very powerful. She has got many, many agents who will strictly enforce. To give an example, the very construction of this body that we have is itself a punishment by Durga Devi on each one of us. Even though every body has got a particular type of facility for some sense enjoyment, every body also has got a limitation. We are bound up by this body. The body does not allow us to, does not give us freedom to do whatever we like to do in order to satisfy our material desires. So therefore, the Shastras are giving directions that we may satisfy our desires strictly following the scriptural directions, and at the same time not become sinfully implicated, so that we can make progress in spiritual life in order to purify our existence and get out of this material entanglement. Because the essence of material existence is suffering. This requires a little intelligence to understand. Those who are less intelligent, they don't understand this fundamental fact of material existence. Dukkhalayam. This material world is clearly described in the scriptures as a place which is filled with dukkha. But under the influence of illusion, somebody may think that when they are facing one type of misery and they are trying to get out of that miserable condition, as soon as they get relief, they feel, oh, now I can enjoy. Now I am free to enjoy. Till another misery again comes and spoils all the plans for enjoyment. So the illusory energy is making us a donkey. That is what the scriptures are teaching us. Mudha. Mudha means a donkey or an ass. The illusory energy makes us think that we are independent. We can do whatever we like. Each person in his or her own way thinks, I am intelligent, I am capable, I am smart. Nobody thinks of their position in the material world as completely bound up by the stringent laws of material nature. This is primarily because of the widespread ignorance, especially in this age of Kali, and due to what is called as material advancement of civilization. The whole civilization in the modern times is simply busy covering up the reality of material existence. Just about, let's say, 50 or 100 years back, if you were to visit a hospital, then you would see the naked truth about the suffering that somebody is diseased or somebody is undergoing treatment, the suffering they undergo will be very, very evident and clear. But today, hospitals have become like 5-star hotels. As soon as you enter the hospital, there is a very gorgeous reception area. Why reception in a hospital? Should the hospital be welcoming people, please come? Or should they be telling, remain healthy and don't come to the hospital? Hospitals have become more lucrative business places than hotels. So in order to attract rich people, the hospitals have become, for the rich at least, better than 5-star hotels. And the government is thinking of earning revenue, foreign exchange, by promoting what is called as medical tourism. These two terms don't go together, no? Medical and tourism. What is medical tourism? So they say that if you have to undergo a surgery in America, it will cost you some 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs of rupees, equivalent of Indian rupees. The same surgery with much better facilities, you can get it done, let's say, for 5 lakh rupees. So they are inviting people from America, come to India and get your surgery done at 1/4 the cost in 5-star facilities. Medical tourism. This is the influence of Maya, the illusory energy. People forget that going to hospital means actually suffering. That they forget. They begin to consider, oh, which hospital has got good facility? Where is question of good facility in a hospital? Hospital is meant for suffering. But somehow they forget that. So like this, the influence of the illusory energy is such that the 4 fundamental problems are completely forgotten or set aside. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Janma, the problem of birth, taking birth. Because the child in the mother's womb for 9 months, how it undergoes so much suffering is completely forgotten after the child takes birth, comes out of the mother's womb. All of us have gone through that, but we have completely forgotten. Does anybody remember what was it like in your mother's womb? Nobody remembers. This is the effect of Maya. Then, especially nowadays, everybody is made to forget that one day we have to die. One day we have to quit this body. That is almost completely forgotten. And so-called scientists, they tell us, oh, we are increasing the life expectancy of people, so we can live long. Formerly, saintly persons used to bless, Jivantu Sharada Shatam. May you live 100 years. That's the maximum duration of life for a human being. So they used to bless like that, not because you can live 100 years and enjoy life, but because you can live 100 years and prepare yourself to completely purify your existence and go back to Godhead. That rare opportunity in the human form of life. For that sake, saintly persons used to bless that you live your full lifespan, maximum lifespan, so that you can nicely engage in spiritual activities for completely purifying yourself and becoming fit for going back to Godhead at the end of this life. But now the whole program is centered around sense enjoyment. So they have different kinds of facilities for sense enjoyment, for children, for adults, middle-aged people, elderly people, senior citizens, all kinds of entertainment, all kinds of sense enjoyment. So life expectancy is increasing means you can enjoy longer in this material world. That is the kind of intent. All this is in the name of advancement of civilization. What are they doing? We are born into ignorance. We are born in darkness. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Bhagavad Gita in one verse, Krishna summarizes that every conditioned soul is born in ignorance, completely bewildered by the illusory energy. But the scriptures also advise us, tamasoma jyotirgama. Don't remain in darkness. Come to the light of spiritual knowledge. Instead, our civilization now is taking us from darkness to more darkness. Is it not? Hospitals becoming 5-star hotels means we are going from darkness to more darkness. Life expectancy increasing for the sake of increased sense enjoyment, duration of sense enjoyment, means become more and more sinfully implicated, to suffer more and more. Nobody can escape suffering due to sinful activities. So, this civilization is a condemned civilization, especially in Kali Yuga, material advancement of civilization. You see, in the Vedic culture, a civilization was considered as advanced by measuring the quality of life of the people of the civilization. If majority of the people in a particular country or province were spiritually advanced, spiritually enlightened, that country or that province was considered to be a successful place. But now it is just the opposite. So-called advanced nations are actually completely in darkness about the actual goal of human life. And the people in those countries, they are lost in sense enjoyment. They're lost in sense enjoyment. And yesterday I was reading the latest advancement in computer technology is that they can create an illusion within an illusion. We are already in illusion. In material existence, we are already in illusion. But then to make you forget, sometimes when Maya will remind us that this place is actually a place of suffering. So to make you forget that, they have created what is called as virtual reality. So virtual reality will become, according to the latest announcement by some of the technology giants, they are all cooperating to make virtual reality a commonplace technology. Every home there will be virtual reality. Everywhere there will be virtual reality. So their idea is you can enter that world of virtual reality and you can forget about all your miseries, all your problems. This is exactly like foolish people who consume intoxicants to forget their worries and their problems and their miseries. Exactly like that. So, if somebody is not able to forget their miseries by intoxication, then they are providing some kind of intoxicant for your mind, virtual reality. So it's actually a very, very precarious condition of this human civilization. Bhagavatam is waking us up. The wake-up call is given in the Bhagavatam. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran, Nibodhata. That you have got a special facility as a human being. Wake up. Don't sleep under the spell of illusion on the lap of the witch Maya. Wake up and become conscious of the actual reality. So with this perspective, if you read and hear and try to understand Bhagavatam, then there are several lessons for us here in the Bhagavatam. Otherwise, sometimes the narrations in the Bhagavatam seem like they are not relevant. to our life. Just like here, there's a description of some dynasty of a particular king some millions of years back. So somebody may wonder, what have we got to do with these dynasties? Description. Every word in the Bhagavatam is very much relevant for all of us. So let us see what is Bhagavatam saying in these few verses that I read. There's a description by Shukadev Goswami, who's speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj is preparing himself to go back to Godhead. He's got 7 days' time. So he is very anxious how he can become fit for going back to Godhead at the end of 7 days. What should he do? So he made inquiry from the saintly persons. Even though as a devotee, pure devotee, he knew what to do, but out of humility, because he considered himself as a Kshatriya inquires from Brahmanas or saintly persons, sadhus. So he went to a holy place and inquired from the saintly persons in that holy place after retiring from his royal duties, handing over charge of ruling the kingdom to his son, eldest son, Janamejaya. So he went to the holy place and inquired from the saintly person, what is my duty next 7 days in order to prepare myself to go back to Godhead? So then nobody could give him a definite instruction, proper directions. What should he do next 7 days? They all began to think 7 days is very short time. While they were discussing, Shukadeva Goswami arrived in that assembly, and immediately he was recognized as the greatest transcendentalist of his time. So he was given the seat of honor, and Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, what is my duty next 7 days? What should I do? So Shukadeva Goswami said, first of all, he assured Parikshit Maharaj, 7 days is a lot of time. Because by the process of bhakti, one moment is enough to perfect oneself if one can absorb one's mind completely in Krishna consciousness. 1 moment is enough. 7 days is a lot of time. So Shukadeva Goswami told Parikshit Maharaj, you simply sit and hear Krishna Katha, I am going to speak. And Parikshit Maharaj heard from Shukadeva Goswami whatever Shukadeva Goswami had learned from his father, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which his father had compiled. Shukadeva Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam, Shukamukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam. And in the course of speaking the Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj made several inquiries as an intelligent king, a most intelligent king, not just intelligent king, most intelligent king. He made several inquiries. And one of the inquiries he made at the beginning of this 9th canto is that please describe the dynasty of the descendants of Manu, Vaivasvata Manu, the present Manu. Because Manu has got the responsibility of generating good progeny in the human species. Manushya, we are called Manushya. Human beings are called Manushya because we are descendants of Manu as the progenitor of mankind, human species. So this Vaivasvata Manu, what about the dynasty? Parikshit Maharaj said, I have heard that there were great kings who were born in that dynasty. So he told, please describe the dynasty of Vaivasvata Manu. So Shukadeva Goswami began describing, and among the various kings appearing in the dynasty, Each of them had some great quality, worth hearing, worth knowing, worth learning. Because we are human beings. We live in human society. So, we are able to actually get lessons by hearing, simply by hearing from the authoritative source of Shukadeva Goswami in response to intelligent inquiries by Parikshit Maharaj. So in describing the dynasty of Vaivasvata Manu, here there is a description that one king, Rathitara, previous to this there was a description of one king, Ambarisha, who was a great devotee. The glories of the saintly king Ambarisha were described in detail, spread over 2 chapters. Now in this chapter, the sons of Ambarisha, they are being described. So there was a son of Ambarisha by name Virupa. His son was Prushadashva, and Prushadashva had a son Rathitara. This Rathitara had no sons, no children he could beget in his wife. So in order to beget sons, he requested one Angira Rishi to beget sons for him in the womb of his wife. This was allowed in a previous age, but this is not allowed in Kali Yuga. Begetting children through somebody else in one's own wife. So, ete kshetra prasuta vai. Kshetra prasuta means being born in the womb of his wife, Rathitara's wife. The children who were born due to the sage Angira impregnating Rathitara's wife. Even though Angira is the actual father, but the children thus born are considered the sons of Rathitara, because it was Rathitara's wife who actually gave birth to the children. So Rathitara becomes the father of these children born in this way. So this was possible because in a former age, people were very much controlled in their senses. Jitendriya. They all had been trained how to control the senses so as to make progress in spiritual life to ultimately become perfect in self-realization. This is human life. Human life is not like animals who simply don't know anything other than simply satisfying their senses in any possible way to enjoy life. That is not human life. Human life is life of tapasya. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet. Purify one's existence by tapo divyam, tapasya. Tapasya, which is voluntarily accepting some inconvenience for the sake of purifying one's existence. So, a king would be very much concerned if he did not have sons, because then he could not hand over charge of ruling the kingdom to a suitable descendant, to a suitable successor. So therefore, when they did not have sons, they would think of alternate methods how they could get a suitable son to take charge. So this Rathitara, he requested Angira Rishi. See, Rathitara is a Kshatriya. And formerly this Varna, there was no mixing of Varnas. In begetting children, a Kshatriya king would beget children in a Kshatriya wife so that he could produce Kshatriya quality sons to take charge of the ruling the kingdom. Such kings were responsible kings who would rule according to the scriptural directions, and that would enable the citizens to prepare themselves to go back to Godhead. This was the responsibility of a king. Now, king gives protection to the citizens, not simply for them to live like animals, a life of sense gratification. No. It is for them to prepare themselves to go back to Godhead at the end of that life. That was the responsibility of the king. So, a suitable king is necessary to rule the citizens, to protect them, to direct them, to guide them, to provide for their needs so that they can properly live a life, a responsible life in preparing for going back to God. So, out of such concern, Rathitara begot children through Angira Rishi. And it's described here, among all the sons of Rathitara, these sons who were born by the semen of Angira, because Angira was a Brahmana. So these sons who were born were superior because they were considered Brahmanas, even though it was a mixed caste, Dvijatayaha, mixed caste. That the father was actually a Kshatriya, a Brahmana, and the mother was a Kshatriya. So it's a mixed caste, birth in a mixed caste. So this is not the best type of progeny that one can beget. But still, because they had some Brahmanical qualities, even though they had some Kshatriya qualities also, it was considered better than just having Kshatriya qualities. So they could be saintly kings. So that is being highlighted here in the case of Rathitara's sons. Then it is described, Manu, he had 10 sons. Earlier it was described. But among them, Ikshvaku was not exactly born through the wife of Manu, Shraddha. Instead, it is described here, when Manu was sneezing, Ikshvaku appeared out of his nostrils. Now, such descriptions will be considered as some mythology by some people of this modern age. But how can a king beget a son by simply sneezing? How is it possible? It's possible if the king is empowered. By empowerment, it is possible. After all, begetting a child means the parents are giving shelter to a soul who is who has to acquire a suitable body. So that acquiring the body can happen by any type of material phenomenon. The standard method is the mother and father combine, and the secretions are mixed in the womb of the mother, and a soul enters the mother's womb through the father's semen, and the soul takes shelter of the mixture of secretions to get a suitable body. The body is developed in the mother's womb, and later on the child comes out of the mother's womb, then further nourishment is given to fully develop the human form of body. This is the general way in which children are begotten. But in exceptional cases, just like Brahma begot sons through different limbs of his body, simply by meditating, he was able to beget sons. Because in the beginning of the creation, Brahma was the only created being. Brahma was the only created being. So how could Brahma have progeny, have sons, have children? So he was empowered to beget children simply by meditating on different parts of his body. So from his mind, he had sons like Kumaras and Narada. So accordingly, they got subtle body. In fact, Narada got a spiritual form. Narada doesn't have a material form as the son of Brahma, mental son of Brahma, born through the mind of Brahma. The Kumaras, they were highly spiritually enlightened by birth itself. They were born of the mind of Brahma. So these are exceptions. These are not the general way of begetting children. These are exceptions. And the authoritative statement of somebody like Shukadev Goswami is the basis for us to accept this as truth. Sometimes people may question, how do you believe all this? It's not a question of believing somebody. It is the truth is presented by the greatest authority, Shukadev Goswami, in order to enlighten us about spiritual reality. So, Rathitara begot a son through what is called as Devarena Sutotpatti. Manu begot Ikshvaku simply by sneezing. And Ikshvaku had 100 sons, of whom the most prominent were 3, Vikukshi, Nimi and Dandaka. Now regarding one sacrifice which Ikshvaku wanted to perform, he ordered his son to go immediately to the forest to get pure flesh. So in this connection, Srila Prabhupada mentions that formerly flesh eating was not totally forbidden, unlike in Kali Yuga, but it was allowed under restriction. Only Kshatriyas could eat flesh after killing an animal in the forest, not killing any domestic animal, not going to a butcher shop and buying some flesh of an innocent animal which is unable to defend itself. No. A Kshatriya was allowed only to eat flesh after hunting in the forest. A Shudra was allowed to eat flesh after sacrificing some lower animal like a goat to goddess Kali. So it was highly restricted for those who were very much desirous to eat flesh. Meat eaters were allowed. That too only among the Kshatriyas and Shudras. Not the Brahmanas and not the Vaishyas. Even Kshatriyas also, only when they went hunting in the forest, they would be allowed to eat the flesh of the animal they have killed while hunting. Why they required to go hunting in the forest? To maintain their skill of killing. This killing is necessary for maintaining law and order when there are upstarts, when there are miscreants, rogues, thieves. So in order to maintain law and order, the king has to be skilled in killing. So to maintain his skill, a king would go to the forest and he would kill some wild animals, not some domestic animals. Only then he was allowed to eat flesh. So it is described here that Ikshvaku wanted to offer flesh in oblation to the forefathers. It's called Palapaitrikam. In a former age it was allowed, but in Kali Yuga it is not allowed. Kali Yuga, the principle is no meat eating. No meat eating. In spite of this injunction that nobody should eat animal flesh, because there is plenty of vegetarian food available. For civilized human beings, there is agriculture, cow protection. So agriculture and cow protection gives us ample food that we can prepare varieties and relish eating nice food stuff without the need for killing animals and eating the animal flesh. So this is the injunction for Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, there are no qualified Brahmanas to perform proper sacrifice. There are no qualified Kshatriyas who can actually go hunting and kill animals, wild animals, and only then eat flesh. There are no Kshatriyas. There are no Vaishyas who will take care of agriculture and cow protection. There are only Shudras. Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha. Now Shudra means somebody who is born without samskara. Without samskara. At least in the former ages, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they would beget children through Garbhadana Samskara. Garbhadana Samskara is inviting a spiritually advanced soul to take birth as the offspring of certain parents by performing the Garbhadana Samskara. But this is practically unknown in Kali Yuga. Samskaras are thought of as rituals, which optionally somebody may do some ritual, if at all they have some tradition or they have some sentimental attachment. Otherwise, the real significance of samskara is forgotten. Just like Vivaha Yajna, the marriage ceremony, is actually a samskara for purification. Samskara means cultural purification. But that has become a ritual. And nowadays people are thinking this ritual is a big botheration. So they have living together relationships, or they have court-registered marriage. Vivaha Yajna has become replaced by court-registered marriage. So this is the degraded civilization that we are living in. Bhagavatam is pointing out. Degraded civilization. So therefore, in Kali Yuga, because people do not follow samskara, therefore there are 4 restrictions for civilized human beings. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. Though formerly these were allowed under restricted conditions for different classes of people, under different circumstances, it was allowed. But now it is not allowed in Kali Yuga. In spite of the injunction prohibiting these 4 activities, somebody indulges in them, they are candidates for going to hell. And if they don't care, even after Shastras are warning that if you indulge in these 4 sinful activities, you are definitely going to suffer in hell. Then people say, we don't care for next life. But Durga Devi is not going to spare these people who don't care for next life. In this life, they are going to suffer hellish conditions right here in this earth planet. In their present life, they are going to suffer hellish conditions. If you go to some places in New York, better don't go. It is not worth going. Prabhupada actually went to such a place, Bowery, in New York City. In one sense, you can say it is like a slum. But a slum in India is not like a slum in America. A slum in India, you will not be surprised to find people, even though they are poverty-stricken, outside their house, there will be rangoli, kolam. If you go to such a poor person's house in a so-called slum in India, I have been, so I have experience, I can say from first-hand experience. They'll welcome you and offer you at least a straw mat to sit down. With sweet words, they'll welcome you, offer you at least water. I was offered milk. Not just water. I was offered milk by a very poor person. He was working as a gardener when we were in a rented house in Gokulam. So once I had to, somehow, for some reason, I had to visit his house. So I went searching. And then he was having tears in his eyes. Swamiji, you have come to my house. Please come, please come. So America's slum is not like that. It is filled with people with horrible, bad habits. So Prabhupada somehow got an interested candidate in learning yoga, bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada shifted from a very nice place he was staying in one yoga studio of Dr. Mishra. He shifted to this youngster interested in learning yoga, but his room happened to be in that slum area, Bowery. So Prabhupada had to face some difficulties with these bums, as they say. They'll be lying drunk, intoxicated. The entrance to Prabhupada's student's room, it was, I think, on the first floor. So he had to go through a staircase to the first floor. So on the way, these bums would be lying there. But due to the influence of Prabhupada, even the bums became reformed. When Prabhupada would come, they would give way. So, in such places, there is no civilized life at all. Nothing of civilized life. So people are becoming so very degraded in Kali Yuga. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, these 4 activities are completely forbidden. So offering of flesh to the forefathers in oblations, in yajna, is forbidden in Kali Yuga. Ashwamedam, Gavalambam, Sanyasam, Palapaitrikam, Devarena Sutotpatti, Kalau Pancha Vivarjayet. Because people are not controlled in their senses, because people don't have the culture of purification through samskara. Therefore, these 5 things are forbidden. Offering a horse in sacrifice, offering a cow in sacrifice, karma sannyasa. Karma sannyasa means at a certain stage, one relinquishes one's material duties, householder duties, especially grihastha dharma, hands over charge to a guardian or a son, grown-up son, and then goes away to a sacred place, holy place, or some secluded place to practice spiritual life for attaining perfection of self-realization. So that is forbidden in Kali Yuga because there is no suitable place. Forests have become unsuitable for practicing spiritual life. So Shastra says, stay where you are and simply follow the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Bhakti Yoga. That's all. That is the recommendation. It's not advisable to leave home and go to some, because even sacred places are becoming inhabited by all kinds of materialistic persons, atheists and agnostics and materialists. So therefore, Shastra says, remain where you are, sthane sthita, sutigatam tanuvan manobhi. Dedicate your mind, body and words for hearing and chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, Shastra forbids all these things. Even begetting children in one's own wife through somebody else is forbidden in Kali Yuga. Similarly, offering oblations of flesh to the forefathers in a sacrifice is forbidden. But formally it was not forbidden, and it is described that here that this son of Ikshvaku, who went to the forest to get some flesh because he was very hungry after hunting, he ate one rabbit which was skilled in hunting. He ate away a rabbit, and then he brought that remaining flesh, and Vasishta, who was performing the sacrifice, he could understand by his power, by his Brahmanical power, that this flesh is not suitable because it's already been eaten. A portion of the flesh has been eaten by this Vikukshi. So therefore, he said, this is not suitable for offering, he told his host, King Ikshvaku. So Ikshvaku became very, very angry against his son and banished him from the kingdom. So these are all instructive that anything meant for offering should not be partaken before it is offered. Even a small portion should not be partaken. So therefore, the Shastric injunction is anything to be offered in yajna or to the Supreme Lord in sacrifice should always be pure and fresh. Nobody should consume that. Nobody should, sometimes it is said nobody should even look at it in a a greedy way. Even that is forbidden. In Jagannath Puri, when offering is prepared and it is shifted from the kitchen to the offering place, Bhoga Mantapa, then on the way, if a dog sees the pots being transferred, the entire offering is become impure. Entire offering is impure. So they have to again start cooking after cleaning up the whole kitchen. Of course, they clean the kitchen after finishing their cooking. But that clean kitchen, again they have to freshly cook and offer to Lord Jagannath. Just by being seen by a dog, the offering is unfit. The food that is cooked is unfit for offering to the Lord. So there are stringent rules like this. You see. So just like the example is given that this Vikukshi ate some flesh before it was offered as oblations into the sacrificial fire. So it became unfit for offering. Similarly, anything we have to offer, before offering, nobody should partake. In fact, nobody should see even the offering. That's why offerings are generally covered and taken from the kitchen to the deity room or the offering place. So these are all finer aspects of practice of spiritual life. That's all brought out in the Bhagavatam for our learning. Like that. So Bhagavatam, everything is relevant in this way. The Acharya's commentaries highlight the instruction that we get or the learning we can have from these incidents. We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I have an announcement to make. We are celebrating a month-long Damodar Deepotsav festival from October 20th. It began till November 19th. Every evening during this month, we will have Damodar Arati for their lordships at 7:45 p.m. Every devotee who comes to the temple will get an opportunity to offer a ghee lamp to the Lord. I'm aware most of you are coming, but those of you who are not aware of this Damodar Deepotsav festival, I invite all of you to come every evening or whenever you can during this month till November 19th and participate in this Damodar Deepotsav. Offer a ghee lamp to the Lord and get his special blessings. We'll be celebrating Govardhan Puja on 5th of November. Celebrations will begin from 6 p.m. We'll have Go Puja, Govardhan Puja and Damodar Deepotsav as part of this festival. All of you are invited on 5th of November, 6 p.m. onwards. We'll have this Govardhan Puja celebration. Hare Krishna.